committee meeting for April 11th, 2024. If you would rise and join me in the allegiance, please. Over here. Oh. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That was great, Steve. You saved us all from an embarrassing moment. All right, this evening we have a consent agenda posted, which are the minutes from our March 28th, 2024 meeting, as well as the notes of bills and payroll. Is there a motion to accept?
Move to accept.
Motion made by Jen. Second. Seconded by Stacy. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Perfect. This is our first opportunity for interested citizens. So if there's anyone present that would like to speak before the school committee on any topic that you choose, so long as it closely relates to tonight's agenda, that'd be great. Or anybody at home? No. All right, we will close this portion of interested citizens. There's a second opportunity towards the end of the meeting. And we have one piece of new business this evening and then 3 presentations we'll get to. The first piece of new business is I'll read it as the agenda list. Monthly town newsletter starting June 1st. Discussion on contributing to the the newly published Town of Littleton monthly newsletter. So I don't know if everyone's copied or not, but I received communication from town administrator, and this is a select board initiative, I believe. They're just asking all committees, all departments within the town, you're providing them an opportunity to submit something on a monthly basis. I think there's sort of a calling for it in town to try to keep everyone informed. It's difficult to watch all the meetings. We don't get any newspaper coverage really in Littleton or anything like that unless it's something drastic. So I think it's something we should do, but certainly, and just wanted to kind of put it out there to gauge our interest level, talk about how we might be able to accomplish this. I don't know if the school department has I don't know if you want this to fall on the 5 school committee members or if we want it to be a collaborative initiative.
Shared responsibility.
Yeah,
sure.
Is this like a mailing or?
so it would be posted to their website.
So it's not being sent out, it's available on.
So this is, I think it's a great idea. There would be a monthly updating that would take place on the website. So you could go as a citizen of Littleton, click, read what's going on within all the boards and departments, and kind of get up to speed on everything. And if of course you had follow-up questions, all the contact information is there on the website. So, we could talk about things like that have happened in our meetings, or upcoming meetings, or even off meetings, like what's happening within schools. But somebody's got to do the work, and I don't necessarily think it's the clerk of the school committee that needs to do it. So ideas, thoughts.
Could it be part of the student representatives role? I mean, no, I just a thought, just outside the box. They're here every meeting and it's like writing a digest.
You're writing an entire newsletter.
No, it's like a little
Blurb.
a paragraph per month, monthly, right?
Monthly.
School activity.
A little digest of what was discussed at the school committee meetings, but not in depth. That was just a thought. Or if not, I would say then you rotate it across all 5.
I think
Month
rotating.
1, month 2, month 3.
Rotating.
Is it the
Yeah.
first of the month, Justin? Or when do you want? 15?
It's due the 15th for the following first.
So, you have to
So our due date would be the 15th of the month. And then the information would get uploaded on the 1st. So when we would just have to be aware of that when we put stuff in.
rotate it. Then every
Rotate.
5 months it's someone's turn. It's not that overwhelming.
Yeah, maybe we could make like a template for consistency.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Can I get a volunteer for the first month? It's due in a couple of days.
It's
No, it's sorry. It's not due until the 15th.
It's not real.
Jen, can we not? Jen's excused. Stacy or Elaine would.
I'll do it.
Elaine's gonna be the first
I'll
month.
make a template so that it'll help with generating ideas each month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll have to write down that I committed to.
Okay, so you're gonna make the template.
Yeah.
And you'll also prepare the blurb for due date of May 15th for the June 1st.
Yep.
Awesome.
Thank
And
you.
you're on board with rotating it.
Yeah, that's really fine.
And I can do a little blurb for anything for the Shaker Lane like building stuff too, because that's gonna be,
Sure.
it'll be probably bigger topics coming down
Yeah.
next year.
Sure.
Yeah,
The school committee member that's in charge of it could even reach out to all of us to submit an idea or something, and then maybe funnel it through your office,
Sure.
Kelly, and Dorothy, well, of course. And then perhaps you guys want to submit it after you've taken a look
Yeah,
at
we
it.
can do it. Yeah, check it over. We can spruce it up a bit. So,
Will this go through the summer or does it take
So, the town went well, ours might whittle down to
Yeah.
nearly nothing.
Yeah, it's twice a year per school committee member, so if you think about it as 10 months.
right.
So it's the
But
number.
people- Yeah, I know, I won't be in there, but it doesn't seem too bad.
School committee alumni are allowed to.
That's right.
I call it Roper in.
I think it's fine for us to, if we don't have much going on in the summertime, we don't need to submit anything. All right,
Thanks
Good.
for that.
perfect. Thanks for the ideas and continuous volunteer. All right, so we'll get started with our presentation portion of the evening. First up, the state. Oh,
You
I'm-
skipped over
I
recognition.
did. Thank you. So eager to get to the
He's
business.
here.
I know. Jay, my apologies. No worries. All right, let's backtrack. We'll go through recognitions. So Jay, if you would give us the student representatives report, my apologies.
No worries. I'll start with Russell Street. So the Russell Street students enjoyed the eclipse on Monday, and all the students and staff were provided with eclipse glasses, and all of the classes went outside in the afternoon to view the eclipse. Many students and staff expressed their appreciation for the glasses and the opportunity to experience the eclipse. Now, the Russell Street School started MCAS testing this week. Third and fourth graders completed 2 days of ELA testing, and fifth graders will do their ELA testings after the vacation week. For the Littleton Middle School, they also started their MCAS, their ELA MCAS on Wednesday, and they worked extremely hard and spent the entire day on it. And the sixth grade had a nature's classroom field experience on the 22nd and the 23rd, where they have. For Shaker Lane would like to thank all the families who have donated items to their Mother's Day's gift bag for women in need. They will be putting these bags together after spring break and delivering them to the Make-A-Wish project in Chelmsford in time for Mother's Day. And Shaker Lane would also like to wish all the families a wonderful spring break next week. There are a lot of announcements for the high school. So on April 5th, the junior class held a class auction, and Littleton went to the Massachusetts State Science and Engineering Fair, with 7 students representing Littleton and 4 projects participating. On April 6th, there was the Polar Plunge, and on April 8th, the Council on Aging Luncheon, as well as the solar eclipse viewing. From April 9th through 10th, we had the NIASC Collaborative Conference, Littleton hosted that. And on April 9th, the GSA Magician fundraiser was at 5:30 p.m. The Gender and Sexuality Alliance hosted the local magician Stephanie Beach for a family-friendly magic show at the high school, and the club raised over $200 and hopes to make it an annual event. From April 22nd to April 26th is National Culture Week, and April 26th is also Littleton High School's prom at Mechanics Hall. On April 30th, Littleton High School is holding a blood drive, and on May 1st, there's CPR training for seniors as well as the NHS induction ceremony. That's all the announcements.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. Thanks, Jay. Heading, Clenching, do you have additional comments to add?
Sure. On Monday, we held the Council on Aging luncheon at the high school. It's been 5 years since we've been able to hold that luncheon, so it's nice to get the senior citizens of our community together. About 85 of them come out, and we served their favorite lunch. It was pasta and meatballs. So it's a great evening, or great afternoon, I should say. And thank you, special thanks to Hillary Bridge for providing the music students to perform for us and the chorus as well. So one other recognition, this week we also graduated one of our LHS students out of our transition program. His name is Kyle. And Kyle had a huge influence on many people in this community, and including all of our staff. They would come up and deliver mail every day, and I knew Kyle was coming up when he was on the first floor, because he's very loud at times and fun-loving, and so we're really going to truly miss Kyle. We want to wish him the best as he continues his journey. And that's it for recognition.
So thank you for sharing. Okay, we're now move on to presentation portion of the evening. So the first up is the stated curriculum reports, part 1. It's 2 content areas. Take them in order, I think. Part 1, grades 6 through 12, math curriculum coordinator Elizabeth Rigo will provide an update of the math curriculum. Then I'll announce. Harry, got it. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. So first we'll start with some middle school math accomplishments. So in 7th grade math, we have a new teacher. Her name is Caitlin Shaughnessy. She's doing a great job making connections and incorporating UDL strategies in her classes. In the math lab, again, we have Rachel Silva. She works with small groups in each grade at the middle school. In these small groups, she's able to make strong connections, provide extra one-on-one support for students, reteach concepts, and have students practice math skills that may be challenging for them. She's able to engage students in math with hands-on lessons and activities. For MCAS, teachers are continuing to review MCAS results in the fall to ensure that all of the necessary content is being taught in order for students to be successful on the MCAS. Teachers are using the MCAS data to modify their teaching as necessary. When we meet, teachers go through each question and identify strengths, challenges, and next steps. Topics are reviewed and retaught as necessary. They're using technology in their classroom to help students prepare to take it on the computer. DESE has released some online math practice problems that are being used, as well as practicing doing math with various programs, such as Prodigy and Assessments. Teachers are continuing to give students practice MCAS problems, along with exemplars to help students be prepared with various types of problems, such as multiple choice problems and open response type of problems. They review scoring and have students practice and score random student samples. For professional development, teachers have been participating in various PD throughout the year. Some of the PD that the middle school teachers participated in include UDL. One of the teachers went to the NELMS conference that looked at student engagement, SEL and wellness, equity and diversity, leadership and communication. They're also looking at math curriculum development, review, vertical alignment, curriculum maps, and also MCAS discussion and strategies. Teachers are engaging students using online games and activities such as Desmos, GimKit, ClassKit, quizzes, Google Forms and Docs, and digital escape rooms. They're incorporating projects and activities such as breakout EDU boxes, edu protocols to practice vocabulary, a dance transversal activity, Pythagorean theorem jelly bean activity, a Pi Day challenge, data displays, looking at how many times students pick up their phone, a Slope City project, human graphing, and a dueling discount project. The 8th grade also went on a STEM challenge field trip to Gillette Stadium. The online textbook and resources are also being used to engage students and enhance their understanding of the math concepts. UDL is being used by giving students choice boards and multiple ways to access the curriculum. The 8th grade students are also participating again this year in the Scholastic Hardest Math Contest. Students complete fun, extra challenging problems and have the opportunity to win prizes such as a laptop, tablet, or money towards a college savings plan. 7th, 8th grade students attempted challenge number 1, and 4 of those students correctly solved it and were eligible to complete challenge number 2. The winner will be announced by the end of April or beginning of May. Next, we have the high school accomplishments. So first, for advanced placement, for AP Stats, 49 students took the exam last year, and 89.8% of the students received a 3 or above. This year, we have 2 sections of AP Stats with a total of 43 students taking the course. For AP Calculus, last year, 18 students took the exam. 11 of the 18 students received a 5, and 100% of the students received a 3 or above. This is the 2nd year in a row this has happened, which is really amazing. Both AP Math courses have finished the curriculum, and we'll use the rest of the time to review the curriculum and become efficient test takers for the exam in May. Julie Elmore was chosen for the 7th time this year to grade AP Calculus exams in June. We are continuing to prepare students for MCAS testing by practicing various types of MCAS questions in class and using exemplars. Teachers are using the DESE online practice questions that have been released to help prepare students to continue taking the MCAS on the computer. Some of our courses also use an online program called Alex on a weekly basis. This allows students to become comfortable with using the tools and doing math on the computer. It is an adaptive learning program, so it also helps fill in gaps for students who need it, or allows students to progress if they are ready for it. Students may also be able to review topics they haven't seen in a while that could show up on the MCAS. As a department, we sit down together in the fall to review the MCAS results and review the results of the individual questions. We identify strengths, challenges, and next steps, and from this, we are able to see what adjustments and changes need to be made. We also work together to identify strategies to help our students. We continue to be aligned to the Common Core. Some professional development that teachers are participating in include UDL, SEI, MassQ, Mindsets in Math, Thinking Classrooms in Math, and MCAS review and strategies. College Prep Statistics continues to offer dual enrollment with Middlesex Community College, where students can receive 3 college credits. Teachers are using the TouchView interactive TVs. They're able to engage students and visually communicate better with students. As mentioned earlier, some of our classes are using the adaptive program called ALEX. With this program, we are also able to see what students know and what they are ready to learn. Desmos is used to explore different topics in math with various activities and graphing. Edulastic for online math practice, Google Classroom for notes, assignments, reminders, and resources. We also have the online textbook and resources in courses where it is available. And AP Calculus and AP Statistics classes are using AP Classroom for additional resources, including videos, question banks, and assessments. Teachers are incorporating projects. Some of these include map projects, a Cantastic challenge project to find the cost to manufacture a can of soup with 3-dimensional formulas, sketching pictures with transformations, a detective project using trigonometry, probability and statistics carnival games project, sequences and series nature and art project, and a zombies and vampires exponential function project. The Barbie Bungee activity was also done again this year in AP Statistics as an intro to linear regression. The financial algebra course, this is the 2nd year this course is running as a full year course. It reinforces algebra and statistics skills relating to real world applications. We also are having the financial literacy fair again, ran by Pam Abate in the financial algebra class. The purpose of this fair is to teach students about real life finances, credit scores, and other budgeting skills, approximating their income and expenses in their early 20s. The first year it ran was last year, and it was extremely successful. We also have the co-taught Algebra 1 course this year. It's being taught by Julie Elmore and Jen Pudo. This is the 4th year we have had a co-taught math class in the math department. Teachers are able to share a variety of teaching techniques and provide extra support to help students succeed in math. We also are still running the New England Math League, or NEMO. It's 6 questions held 6 times a year from October through March. It's held after school in the cafeteria. This year, 156 students participated in NEMO at least once, and students from all grades and all 6 math teachers participated this year. We also have Archie, the registered therapy dog, who's been working with Julie Elmore again this year. He adds a calming presence wherever he is, and the students and faculty really enjoy when he's around. So then this next slide looks at grade 10 math MCAS. So 73% of students are meeting or exceeding expectations. This year, all students passed the math MCAS, which hasn't happened the past few years. Littleton did better than the state on every single question. Also, the mean student growth percentile was 65, which indicates high growth, which is the highest it has been in the past few years. This indicates that students' growth was higher than that of their academic peers statewide. As mentioned earlier, teachers from grades 6 through 12 meet to review data, identify challenges, strengths, and to discuss next steps. Teachers identified areas where students could use more practice and reinforcement, and this has been an ongoing conversations for teachers throughout the year. And then lastly, just some current focus areas. So we continue to make adjustments due to the pandemic. We are able to identify where students have gaps with self-diagnostics or programs such as ALEX and MAP. Some students are still struggling with math fluency, so teachers are incorporating warm-ups, skill drills, spiral reviews to help students with this. Students are completing activities and assignments in groups and independently and are given a variety of assessments. All teachers are encouraging students to take risks, ask questions, and just overall provide a safe learning environment for students. Teachers have participated in district-wide PD for UDL and have focused on developing and applying UDL concepts to their math classes. We continue to explore these ideas and how to incorporate them into our classes. As mentioned earlier, we continue to review MCAS data as a department, implement strategies, look at doing math on the computer, implementing various types of MCAS problem and exemplars, discuss showing and explaining their work, strategies for multiple choice problems, and ensuring all students have access to the math MCAS materials prior to taking the exam. We continue to implement real-world applications to help engage students and see how they can use math in their own lives. We have students talking more about math in real-world contexts and what makes sense. Danielle Bearden attended the Mass Q this year and discovered Lego kits that incorporate both technology and math. She received a few kits through an LEF grant and is in the process of setting these up to use in her classes. Over the past year, the 6 through 12 math teachers have been meeting to review our courses, discuss content and MCAS, and ensure vertical alignment. This has also been essential to discuss what students know and what they need to know to be successful in their math classes. We've also checked in with other math departments and other districts to discuss strategies and curriculum. And I look forward to continuing to do this to develop a strong math program for our students. And that's about it. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Excellent. Any questions or comments for Ms. Rigo?
Sounds like you guys have been busy.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all great stuff. It seems like you're making math really accessible for all the kids, so I really appreciate all of the different dynamic pieces that you're putting together for the kids. That's great.
You got something?
Oh, me?
Yeah, usually have something.
No, I'm really grateful that you spend so much time analyzing MCAS data. I just feel like that's one of the best uses of that data because and as you know, going standard by standard, it can tell you so much
Right.
about your curriculum and your instruction and your students. And I'm really grateful that you make that such a high priority, 6 through 12. And I had a question about the financial literacy fair. Is that like an option for students, or is that something that everyone does, or seniors only?
Yes.
Okay, so that's great. So that because we've talked before about financial literacy. Yeah, it's a huge life skill.
Yeah, it's really great. And I feel like the kids really enjoyed it last year and it was very
Community
successful.
partnership, a lot of volunteer members of our community.
That's awesome. Thank you for all you're doing. It's a lot.
Question for you about the MCAS results and the trend. So it's nothing personal. Like I always ask the negative question because the presentation is so full of positive things. So I was just curious if we look at partially meeting and not meeting and we kind of lump those together, the trend is, in the wrong direction, and it could be explained by a number of the variables. I can think of a few myself, but does the team kind of have an idea of why that might be the case? And like you talked about a number of strategies to try to move that in the other direction, but
Right.
what are some of the top reasons why you believe we have more students partially meeting or not meeting year over year, 2 years in a row?
Sure. No, that's a good question. And that's something that we've discussed as well. A lot of the districts aren't back to their pre-pandemic results. And kind of going back and thinking, well, where were these students, like what has their education looked like? There have been disruptions, there was the shutdown, we had the hybrid year where some students were learning at home the whole time. So maybe they weren't getting everything that they possibly could have. So I think we are still seeing some disruptions from those things. Like I said earlier, we kind of go through those questions and we try to figure out, it's really nice how much data there is out there because, we can see even their answers and try to figure out, like, why did so many kids pick this? And, it really gives us a lot of information so we can kind of adjust and discuss strategies with students. We've also talked about, sometimes we haven't gotten to the curriculum. We've also had a few different schedules throughout the year. So this year, we started earlier, which I think will help. We have a new schedule at the high school, which I feel like is also helping. Because when the MCAS is in May, sometimes we still have over a month left in school.
Right.
And students are taking the MCAS where maybe there are a couple of topics they haven't gotten to yet. So I'm hopeful, with kind of rearranging things and being able to get through more curriculum this year and just incorporating the strategies that we've discussed that, we can try to help, pull up what's been going on. And hopefully we'll start to see, you know, now that we're getting further and further from the pandemic, then, you know, we'll start to see those gaps kind of get smaller.
Makes sense to me. It's what I was expecting to hear, so that's good. And I think time itself will just kind of flesh some of that out.
Mhm.
The discussions with some other districts, that was gonna be one of my questions, but it seems like you guys are already doing that, which is terrific. Were there any like light bulbs that went off, like some of the surrounding towns, some of these top performing districts, like, geez, they're doing that. We hadn't thought of that yet, or how are they possibly funding that? We wish we were able to do this type thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of the districts, I mean, it's super helpful when we have that full day PD. You know, we've been given department time where that's huge to be able to sit down with 2 other districts because we don't always get the opportunity to do that. So I feel like that's been really helpful. I feel like they've seen similar patterns to what we've seen. We also discussed strategy. Next year, the math department will be going through a curriculum review as well. So we've kind of been in touch with them too, just to discuss, you know, is there a curriculum that they have that they are really enjoying that works well? So I hope to keep those, you know, communications going, and it's good to have made those connections.
Great. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Great. So we started, Jason. I know. All right, so part 2, K-12 Health and Physical Education Curriculum Coordinator Meredith Perry.
Hello, friends.
Hello.
Stretch.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do something different. Okay, everyone stand up. We're gonna do something that I call elevators. Okay, it's just 3 down, but it's slow, and then 1 up. Okay, so the elevator, you go down to go 1, 2, 3, and then up. 1, 2, 3, up. 1, 2, 3, up. And now stretch all the way to the sky. You can, your knees are old. That's not true. All right, how's everyone feel? Everybody ready?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's better if I do go second, just for that, right? Just kind of go first and get it over. All right, so my name is Meredith Perry. This is, I don't even know, my 15th state of curriculum, so I've been here longer than all of you. I am super excited to say that we have a brand new member of our department this year. We have a full-time PE teacher in all the schools. So Mark Bentley is at Shaker Lane. Shane Tower is in for Sydney, it's not Wood.
Yeah.
Hensley. Okay. It was Sydney Wood for a while. Sydney Hensley, she's on maternity leave, so Shane is filling in this year. Trisha Bonacore and Greg Gillette are at the middle school. Mike Lynn, Zach Smithlin, and I are at the high school. So that's just going to give you an idea of who we are. Something major that we have done this year, I am proud to announce that we have our new frameworks, which for the past 5 years I have been hoping for it, but now we have them. They are definitely, as I will mention, a huge part of our PD this year. But I will get to that again a little bit ahead of myself. So something else, we always have those great connections with our SRO, with especially at the middle school. Meg really goes in and makes those connections with those kids, which is so fantastic. So then when they come up to the high school, they know where her office is and they ask to go down and they ask to talk to her when necessary. So it's very important that we have that. We did participate in the Youth Risk Behavior Survey this year. 8th graders and then all high schoolers took it just last month. We also do the universal mental health screening and grades 9 through 12, which focuses on screening for depression, anxiety, and then any signs of suicide. We also do the signs of suicide program at the middle school. The 6th and 8th graders do it. The 6th graders have that screening and then the 8th graders have a refresher. And as I had mentioned, we do have a full-time PE teacher that was added. So now we have at least 1 full-time PE teacher at every school, which is so amazing. We also upgraded some equipment at the Russell Street, where we got some scarves and basketball hoops. And I have a couple of things when I get to the pictures so I can show you. So the current focus that we have this year, as I mentioned, we are updating our new frameworks. It is skills-based now, so it is definitely a large undertaking. We were expecting it to be skills-based. So Trisha and I specifically have been kind of shifting in that direction over the past few years. So although the writing piece of it is going to be big. The practice pieces has actually already been in place for a few years. So there really isn't going to be much changes in the classroom. It's just going to be kind of more of that back work that we need to do. So we are working on the curriculum mapping, which we are using our faculty-led PD days. We are using 3 of them. We've already had 2. It's been great that all of us can be together because of the school start times. And I am K-12, so we can't always have everyone together. So for the past couple of PD days, we've been together, and it's just nice to kind of see where everyone is, what they need, and then I can be a resource for them, and we're all in the same room, so it's really nice. We are continuing to look at the whole student to help kind of figure out where they are and where we want them to be as just a human. I think that that's great with health and PE, that we can kind of take that step back. And although we are an academic subject, it can also be kind of that time where we can kind of make better connections, since we're talking a lot personally, you know, personal fitness, personal health, that we can like kind of get those connections to see where they are and what they need, which is also great because then we can talk to the rest of the faculty and the rest of the staff to say, hey, I have this student, this is happening in our classroom. This is really working for me. They shared with me this, you know, and obviously asking the student and talking with the student to say, hey, can I share this information so that we can better serve you? And most of the time the students are like, yeah, I don't care. As long as I can pass your class, right? Not necessarily. But the social and emotional piece, like I said, is super important for us, and we are incorporating all those practices into our classroom. Not only is it a part of our curriculum, but just the staff and my department is just really keen on that and just wanting to know that the students feel safe in their classrooms, because as we all know, students that don't feel safe will not learn. So that's a really big piece in our department. So for our next slide, we have our professional development. We have been focusing on being culturally responsive teachers. UDL, as we know, is a huge focus that we're having right now in the district. We've also been taking some online courses, Understanding Moods, the SEI endorsement course. Some of you might know the PE and health doesn't need to take the SEI endorsement. It's only the core classes that need to be endorsed, but some of us are taking that just to have that information.
What is SEI?
I'm sorry, the sheltered English immersion. So it's like English language learners. And then we're also focusing on mindfulness, taking courses in it to understand how we can be mindful ourselves, but then how also we can teach our students to be mindful. Improving wellness for all staff and students, that's just something that we want to do in general, but then also taking those courses in for ourselves. And then one of our staff members is actually taking some courses in athletic administration, which is always awesome. Trisha went to Mayford this year as our representative. That is the Massachusetts Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. And when she came back with some really great strategies to help with health and phys ed teaching strategies, it's really awesome because there really is so few kind of focused on health and PE. And so when you can have an entire conference that's just health and PE, it's just really awesome to be able to get those strategies. Trisha was able to go and bring them back. So she shared them with us. And then a whole bunch of us by accident signed up for a teacher-led PD. It was actually with Holly Ballard. It was so amazing. Tools for the toolkit, working with quirky and combative students more effectively. So Trisha, Zach, and I actually signed up for that, and we were like, wow, this is really fun. Why did we all pick this one? But we, again, like to make those connections with all students. And we wanted to make sure that we had all the tools that we could. So that's why we all ended up signing up for that one. So just to kind of show you what is going on here at Shaker Lane, we actually have those the hoops that I had mentioned, but we do have a wonderful video that Mark has shared with us. So you, right, clearly they saw the camera. But as you can tell, that they are not only learning the, you know, social and emotional with the being thankful and being appreciative with their personal space and their other skills as well. So Mark is doing a really great job at Jaker Lane. So then at Russell Street, at Russell Street, Shane does a SEL check-in every time that the kids come into the gym. And so they can tell him where they are at that moment, so we can kind of see what he's working with. They also have the adaptive PE class. And then they also, as I had mentioned, they had new scarves, and so they were teaching how to juggle with the scarves. And then they also were practicing yoga as well. And then he also has the wall of records, which they made like a threshold. If you can hold the plank for 60 seconds, then you can put your name on it. If you can do 20 push-ups, then you can put your name on it. So they all kind of had that, you know, goal to have. And then as you can see, so many names are now on it. They can do all of the activities. And then also the Littleton Youth Lacrosse Association donated lacrosse sticks. So now there is enough for an entire class. They were a few short, so they donated some. So now they have the whole class there to be able to participate.
Justin and I are zooming in on the plank records and comparing our kids' record times.
My kid is not a planker.
Is that a plank?
No competition here, no competition, right? So the middle school, we just have some activities happening in PE classes. Just they have individual as well as team sports that they like to participate in. Something that they also do at the middle school. Next slide. They have instant activities that they do together with the health classes. So the health classes and the PE classes combine at the beginning of their classes, and they do some instant activities. As you can see, the Grinch joined them in December to do some yoga. But sometimes it's a puzzle, sometimes it's a physical activities, and so they get to kind of choose. So they spend the first few minutes working together with the both classes, and then they separate and they work on their individual lessons. The fire department not only works with the high school, as we know that the seniors are getting CPR certified May 1st, but they also go down and they work with the middle schoolers as well to do the CPR and AED for schools. So they're exposed to it before they come to the high school. I also wanted to mention that the middle school and the high school have an archery club. Trisha does run it, and we wanted to mention it because it is the largest club that's at the middle school right now, and that the high schoolers go down and kind of mentor the students. So it's a great connection that we like to make. And it is such a fun, and they do it throughout the school year. They go inside the winter. As you can see, they have that screen in the background, and then they go outside when the weather is nicer. And they also have the PALS program, which is like Best Buddies. We just call it PALS for legal purposes. It is a copyrighted name. And then at the high school, we have several of our classes. In health class, we are doing an escape room, which we actually did today. We have Fit for Life, which makes up their games. Like, it's actually kind of a new thing that they're doing, is that they kind of come up with this game, you know, being super creative. They write down the rules and then they have to play it. And so they came up with another one just recently where someone is shooting a basketball, but also dodging dodgeballs at the same time. And if they score baskets, more baskets than they hit the person who's trying to score, then they win. So it's like, that's the competition of like how many times you're hit and how many times you score a basket. And they had so much fun. There was so much sweat happening. I was witnessing it and I was like, this is amazing. And they were like laughing and having such a great time. And as you know, that's just what we want. That's our goal that we have for the students, is we want them to enjoy the activities that they're doing, because we do want them to be active for their life. And then also we have the strength and conditioning classes where they create their own fitness plan, and they have to use it and follow through with it. So that's what's happening in the health and PE departments.
Amazing.
Awesome.
This is kind of a basic question that I should know already, but are there guidance counselors in all the schools?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
And blind, so, I mean, it's kind of a different role at the high school with, college applications and so forth, but. So I was wondering, with all of the work that you do on mental health and social emotional, I mean, do you interface much with the guidance counselors?
Oh, I'm always talking with all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would seem like a natural connection that you could help each other out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel that even, I mean, I can talk to the high school because that's where I am at, but I am constantly talking to teachers, just saying, I'm having a student, I noticed this, can you help me? I have access to all of their schedules, so I can look to see who else has them as teachers and I can just go ask. But I'm always, my first stop is usually the guidance counselor, or our adjustment counselors.
That's awesome.
Quick question. You mentioned the youth risk behavior survey.
Yes.
That was eighth graders and high schoolers. In previous years, it's been the younger kids, right?
6 to 12.
6, 7, 8, and that changed this year?
I believe so, yeah.
Is it-
Yes, like that.
Yes.
We got, the clinical team took a look at the questions on the survey and then, we just felt that, they weren't in line with our own philosophy for that grade level.
Yeah.
So we decided not.
And that's sort of this year.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know a lot of people did because for those that don't know, the questions are very graphic and adult in nature, which is okay at a certain age, but 6th and 7th, I think is.
And we had expressed our concerns to them and I mean, they tweaked it a bit, but just not enough.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
What do we do with the, this isn't necessarily like a curriculum question, but what do we do with the youth risk behavior survey results? Those are shared
So I
among
take
all
a,
staff or,
it's usually the clinical staff.
yeah,
And then I ask for the results as well. And so then I try to take what we need to work on and I focus my curriculum more on that.
do we get individual results or is it kind of, this is what's happening in Littleton type thing? Like,
It's more of just like a little bit, yeah, it's more, but we do get the surrounding towns as well.
Okay,
I believe we also get a percentage of like how they answered each question,
Mhm.
but not, like it's an anonymous survey.
It's
So-
not a screener
Right,
No.
for individual students.
correct.
It's
So if we
aggregate.
get like question number 1, we can see who answered yes, who answered no, kind of like we can see the percentages.
yeah,
Whereas the mental health screening is individual, that's to weed out specific
Correct.
kids that might be.
And we tell them that it's confidential, but it's not anonymous.
Right.
And then when they do pull students out or contact the students, they also pull out, like it's still confidential because they take students that are not at risk. And they kind of ask them what they thought of the survey. Did they think it was good? So they get feedback that way too. So if they're pulled out of class, it's not like, oh, they didn't answer correctly on the screen.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's really awesome.
So we take a lot of students out. And so
right.
just so it makes it confidential.
Yeah. So do you have a protocol for responding when a red flag?
The clinical staff does, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Is there is there a trend with this youth risk behavior survey happening within Littleton? Do we look like other districts
Yes.
that sort of match our academic performance
Yes.
and demographics?
And all the years that I've been here, they have been very much so. There was a couple of years where the suicide rate in Littleton was really high. And that was when I first started here about 20 years ago. And that's when we started implementing the screening and started talking more about suicide and giving more education about depression and anxiety. And since then, those numbers have
Like
gone down, like improved.
the signs of suicide rate was high or the actual
The
suicide?
actual suicide rate when I first started here 20 years ago.
Great
On
job.
that note,
I know.
Yeah.
Should we do more exercises? Get the info.
Thanks for teeing them up for me.
Yeah.
thank you.
so much.
Good job, thank you. Right. Moving on here, presentation number 2, superintendent mid-cycle formative evaluation. Superintendent Clench will provide a brief overview and progress of the superintendent's goals 2023 through 2025. Take it away. Thank you. Probably less than 30 minutes.
Putting pressure on me.
You can respond.
We can do it. promise I won't ask you to do planks, so unless you really want to, but I'm pretty sure you don't.
No thanks, we'll pass.
Are you sure? Okay, so a few months ago, time has gone by so fast. I came before you to talk about my initial goals for the year, and I have 14 goals. Two goals that are required for the evaluation process and 12 other auxiliary goals. During the discussion, we decided that it would be in everybody's best interest, including mine, to cut them down. So I decreased them to 6. Typically, in superintendent's evaluation, we have from 3 to 5. But even though I cut those goals down, doesn't mean that I'm not actualizing all those other goals. We talked about the superintendent's position, and it's multi-layered, and has many different responsibilities. So we used a different format this year, and at the end of my presentation, I asked you what you thought of it. It's kind of interesting, as it's concise. I think better than reading 35 pages of my narrative. So we're going to start now with the first goal, which is a mandated goal, professional practice goal. It's a 2-year goal. And in my case, it's preparing myself for recertification. Every 5 years, educators, superintendents, administrators need to be certified in the state of Massachusetts. And it allows us to venture out into areas that we're interested in and continue learning. I mean, we need to be examples of lifelong learning, and right from the top down. That we demonstrate that to not only our staff, but our kids and our community. So the chart is arranged, second column, standards and indicators. So that's aligned with the superintendent DESE rubric. Also with our strategic plan, I've talked many times about the fact that all evaluations are aligned to our strategic plan. So when our teachers and administrators create goals, they align them to their DESE document as well as our strategic plan. So if I look at the alignment here with the DESE rubric, standard 4, professional development, professional culture, D, continuous learning indicator, and continuous learning of administrators. So that would be the alignment to the actual DESE document. District strategic plan alignment would be standard 2, professional development. Then in the third column, we have all of the action steps that I have taken. And I hope you had a chance, I'm sure you did, have a chance to take a look at this. So in the state of Massachusetts, they mandated 30 PDPs in courses that really focus around special education students and other accommodations that may be required, for example. So I completed 2 courses. The first one, strategic instruction for English language learners. Our English language learner population is increasing within our community. So certainly a good idea for me to have further training in that area. And the second one is supporting special education students in the classroom. You've heard me echo many times during periods when I speak out school committee meetings, the importance of inclusion. And in fact, when we were doing our budget and I was looking at the successes, I spoke about the need to take some time to review how services are being currently offered to some of our special education students. They should be with the most qualified teacher possible, and do that by including them as much as possible. There are times when pullout is necessary, but we have to make sure that it suits the student. We should always have an eye on trying to move them more into the classroom setting with their peers. MASS, Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, puts on an annual summer conference. They've done this for many years. They do a fantastic job of doing it. They have a professional development committee that looks at a number of things, a number of areas, trends that are happening in the nation, in Massachusetts, areas that the Department of Education would like to move forward, and also challenges that districts are seeing and challenges beyond the state of Massachusetts. What I like about this conference is it just doesn't focus on Massachusetts. I mean, we're a nation, and a lot of things are happening out there, and we're not exempt from any of those things happening in the state. Paul Andrews, I knew Paul very well. He was a very active member with MASS. He was in charge of the professional development committee for many, many years. He was responsible for not only creating the summer PD for superintendents, but also PD throughout the year. Unfortunately, Paul passed away a couple of years ago, but I remember that 3 years ago, he communicated to us and greeted us all at the conference from a hospital bed. Very dedicated individual and was a very had a very powerful impact on not only superintendents but education in the state. The conference theme: students are our why, leading diversity, belonging, equity, and inclusion for a healthy and successful school community. Fitting topic for anybody in education. 3-day conference, sample workshops, differentiated PD, a vehicle for equity, elevating student voice from central office. And on that note, that's certainly something that's been important to me for years. We've created focus groups where I've been able to take part of them in middle school and high school. Dr. Harrington just scheduled a time with me to meet with the students that are administering the DEIB survey at the high school. So I'm excited about that. It's nice to get out and talk with our students. And on that note, there are more ways that we can elevate student voice at the school committee level, superintendent level. We just need to spend more time making sure that we fit those important activities. I would like to see more students come to the school committee meeting, or perhaps even think about having a superintendent call a meeting and invite the school committee where we don't have to worry about quorums or motions or publicizing, etc. And sit around with a group of students and just have an open discussion about Wilson High School, for example. What are the strengths of Wilson High School? What has helped you get to the point where you are now? And what are some of the challenges that you faced? 2 simple questions that create quite a worthwhile dialogue. Solution-oriented mindsets. My administrators are probably so sick of that phrase because I've been using that phrase since the first day I walked in the door. We all have problems and conflicts, but unless we commit to sitting down collaboratively, working together to find solutions, we're really not getting it. We're spinning our wheels. So that's something I've worked on my entire career. And it was nice to sit back and have somebody else talk about this, something that's really important to me as a leader. And it works very well. I mean, there's very few times when people come to see me now, especially staff members, where I don't never have to say, well, what's your solution? What are you thinking about? How are you going to move this forward? Because they know exactly what I'm going to say anyway. But that kind of mindset is really important in terms of improvement within schools and school districts and classrooms. The dangers of neutrality, using data to reveal equity opportunities. School and district planning and implementation, something that's really important, never goes away, and is essential, paramount in moving districts forward and making sure that we always look at ways to improve student learning. The updated Massachusetts IEP and form and process, we've talked about that at this table. We've had a number of in-services with our staff, which I've attended. It's going to be implemented next fall. And it was nice to hear the rationale from the people from the state that we're pushing for changes. And personally, I think it's a movement in the right direction. It's really focusing not more, but focusing in a way that accentuates goal attainment and also neurodiversity, which we don't hear enough about. So we need to look at their strengths, focus on their strengths, because that's how we help people become the best that they can be. And that is embedded in the UIP form, and I'm really excited about that. Legal updates, superintendents should have legal training. When I first became a superintendent, it was mandatory, and in Massachusetts it isn't. But they do provide updates every year. Now there are laws that are rewritten in education that one needs to know about, but there are also settlements in terms of case law. And what that means is you have a law that's written, and then when it goes to court, you have case law, and case law really determines how the laws are interpreted. And interpretations change throughout time. So as a superintendent, it's important that I'm updated on those changes. And it really helps when we are dealing with lawyers, because I do have that knowledge base to tease out with the lawyer what we need to do. culturally responsive practices in a district of demographic change. I think that fits our community very well. It was a great seminar to take in, and we're not the only one facing changes. And it's really exciting and relative because we're not only facing demographic changes, we're growing. And not many communities in Massachusetts can actually say that they're truly growing. When I'm out and about with superintendents at meetings, they often ask me about our enrollment decline. I kind of smile and say we're stabilized, but we're stabilized because we have people waiting to get into our school district by a school of choice. So it's really nice to have that stabilization factor in our school districts, which benefits all students. We can make sure we have enough students in every grade to ensure that we offer the program that they need to be successful. Even though we try really hard to stabilize those grade enrollments, it's impossible to do. We still have our highs and lows in our history. So we did the best we can. Portrait of a graduate, not just for high school. It's something you've heard me talk about. Dr. Harrington was here a few months ago talking about the creation of a portrait of a graduate of high school. It's really going to be called the portrait of a learner in our other three schools. We're excited to begin that work this summer. I'm putting some pressure on John, as he's already had a conversation with me, that I really would like this whole portrait completed without any additions, so that we can start looking at the summer at our retreat and start the busy work of working with the other administrators to start creating those profiles of learners. We've already done some background work. Our schools have already identified the skill sets that our students need to be successful as they transition from one school to another. And so it's just a matter of compartmentalizing that information and creating something that's going to be not only useful, but or something that somebody follows and looks at every day. It becomes part of the culture. Also, every year, MASC and MASS team together, which is really unique. This is the first state I've been in where that actually happens. And what's powerful about this conference is it gives superintendents and school committee members an opportunity to learn together. And when I look at these two conferences, there's the formal part of it, but for me, there's also the informal part of it. And I'm same with, I'm sure, Elaine, in terms of school committee members. I mean, I can touch base with, well, there's over 200 superintendents that attend the summer conference. So it's a good opportunity to sit down and talk about things that are working well in their respective districts and the challenges that they have. And we just develop a nice collaborative partnership, which I think is really important in the positions of the role. The MASC, MASS conference is held in November, and sample workshops and wraparound services that strengthen alliances between families and schools. That's something that's really important to me as well. A number of years ago, I was actually heavily involved in that. I was appointed to something called a regional intersectoral committee. And the task of that committee, there are 4 of them in the province that I was in. And we were charged with bringing social services, Medicare, justice, and education under one umbrella, and providing wraparound services to at-risk families and students. The area that I had was bigger than the state of Massachusetts, believe it or not. It was an honor because I was the only educator out of the 4 regions that was appointed as chair. But looking back at that time, we had a lot of work to do in Massachusetts to provide wraparound services. And what does that mean? It means that the services that we provide in-house in our schools need to be aligned and intertwined with services that some of our students are receiving outside of our schools. And as I said, I'm not going to expand on it too much, but we really need to work on it in the state of Massachusetts. So I would like nothing more than to see social workers assigned to our district rather than having a different social worker every time. So you have to deal with a social worker. That consistency. I would also like to have them spend some time in our district so they could actually get to know some of our students rather than coming in and not having the background that would be beneficial to helping families that are in crisis. So something that hopefully the state will continue to not only recognize the importance of doing something different, but put some money and some structures in place to help us do a better job. Cultivating culturally responsive leaders in our schools, more important than ever during the current climate that is out there. I kind of try to steer away from using the word political, but it is a political climate that we're dealing with. And well, unfortunately, value structures are sometimes changing very rapidly in some communities. Knock on wood, we're very fortunate in our community. We have a community that embraces diversity and equity. But it doesn't mean that we don't have to be cognizant of how fast we move. If we move too fast, we fall backwards. If we move at the right pace, we bring people with us. And you can't get better at offering more equitable and inclusive environments without bringing your community along. If you just do it at the school level and the district level, it'll make some difference, but in order to make a huge difference, the community has to come along with us. That's something I always remind our administration and whenever I get a chance to talk about this, it's about the community. It's not just about schools. Implementing a high quality literacy curriculum seems to be the buzz not only in the United States, but through North America. And knowing the signs for school violence and prevention. If I could use a word tonight that I want you to always remember, would be the word proactive. The more proactive we are in dealing with any situation, whether it be learning needs of students, behavioral challenges of students, or budget. They're just anything we do as leaders in any district should always have the word proactive at the front of everything we think about it. If you're proactive, the chance of success is much greater. As I move along here and I have a timeline, I'm sure you looked at the timeline as I'm talking. I don't want to point everything out of the document. And you've obviously clicked on the links that I provided as well. Safety care training. I don't know if you'll find many superintendents that are safety care trained. What does that mean? It means that I get trained with certain staff that are earmarked for that, and administrators on how to de-escalate situations, and if necessary, how to restrain individuals in an appropriate way. Certification only lasts a year, and so we need to keep it up from year to year. I think it was a job, 12 hours or something. I can't remember. Maybe 12, around 12 hours of training per year. I'm happy to report, knock on wood, that we have had no restraints in the district this year. Next action step, comprehensive school threat assessment. So training, intervention, and support to prevent violence. I downloaded a picture of the book that we used in that training, 8 hours of training. You may ask yourself, why do you need to be well versed in that? Because we deal with them. And what we needed to do in our district is have a more consistent approach to doing a risk assessment to determine whether an individual may consider harming themselves or others. And that's kind of the first thing that we do when we end up in those situations. And then make decisions as to what the next steps will be. So our clinical team is trained as well. All of our administrators are trained. I'm trained as a superintendent. And for me, it's an opportunity to keep abreast of new and best practices. And from a legal standpoint, personally, I think it's a pretty good idea for the superintendent to have knowledge and training in this area in case we end up in litigation. So those are some of the reasons why I keep up with these things. Another action step, continued workshops on the implementation of universal design for learning. Everybody knows what UDL is now. We always talk about it. We're UDLing everything this day and age in our district. I'm excited about that. For the first 3 years of implementing UDL, the central office team worked with the principals and educators and helped build a foundation of what UDL was. This year, we turned it over to school-based administrators and staff. And our kickoff for that was on our first day back. And what we did to actually facilitate that is administrators, including myself, teamed with teachers. And we broke the staff up into groups, and we taught them about UDL and how to implement it in the classrooms. So I had the pleasure of pairing off with Heidi McGregor, and we had a great time in our group. And it really sent a nice message. You have the foundation, you can do it, and we're here to support you. But now the conversations need to be more school-based than having us coming in and guiding those conversations. Also attended the 2 trainings this year, one in October, one in December. We're using Novak Educational Consulting. And they are a great company that are tried and true. Novak was the assistant superintendent of Groton Dunstable for a few years, Katie. And she decided to venture out on her own and open up a consulting company with a specialty in UDL. Her dissertation was also with UDL implementation. So it's been a real treat to have Katie in our district and some of the other people that she's trained. You know, you can't do changes of this magnitude without bringing in professionals and bringing in people that are experts. We can build our own foundation, but somebody that does this every day for a living and has worked with a number of districts allows us to implement at a much faster speed. And when we're done, we don't have cracks in our foundation. It's a solid foundation, which is really important. I've also purchased for the district various webinars from Character Strong, our high school SEL program that I'm really excited about. And we talked about linkage of professional development goals to student learning goals. And I just finished a webinar on 5 strategies to effectively support student behavior. It's kind of an interesting opportunity for me to bring out some of that knowledge I've had for many years and haven't had to use. But now that we're taking a look at how our learners are doing post-COVID, we need to really sit down and spend some time looking at some of these strategies that were presented. And obviously working with our students at the high school, I believe I see a difference already, but the proof will be in the pudding when we administer the second survey in May. And when we do our focus groups, then we'll have better information to conclude that. So this webinar, they go back here for something. Here it is. So this webinar talked about something called the whole child success model. What does that mean? Well, if you focus on MTSS solutions for tiers 1, 2, and 3, you equip educators with the skills that they need to work with students, and you have effective school leadership. You're setting yourself up for success with dealing with students that are struggling in your classrooms or may need extra help academically. This also applies to chronic absenteeism. I mean, we've had this discussion. We talk about strategies about chronic absenteeism. How do we get kids back in school? Bottom line is, if students have a purpose and if they have a connection and they feel a sense of belonging, that's most of what you need to do. Sometimes we have to reach out to them and go the extra mile to do that. But if you really want to turn chronic absenteeism around, they have to be excited about coming to school. And you're not going to be excited about coming to school if you've been away 2 weeks. And you go back into your classroom and you don't know what's being taught, you don't understand it. So we need to provide opportunities for them to get caught up so that they don't decide that they want to stay away from school for a longer period of time. This webinar also talked about 5 strategies, is in the title, trusting relationships. Most important thing that you can do with educators and students is develop trusting relationships. Temperature checks, culture checks, climate checks. You know, experienced administrators can walk into a school in 5 minutes, know what the climate is without talking to very many people. It's that evident. But what this point also emphasizes, you need to know your students and know when you need to do a climate check with them so that you're proactive rather than reactive. Makes a huge difference. Proactive practices I've already talked about, progressive strategies, effective discipline, catching positive student behavior moments, proximity redirection. Working with the parents and actually phoning them and talking to them about something that their child did that was positive. And we've worked on that in our district, but it makes everybody's life a lot easier. When I was a principal, when I made those phone calls home, I was suspending students or expelling students in high school. Or just breaking the news to a parent that, you know, your son or daughter has done something wrong, in class or in school suspension more correctly, or not a school suspension for X number of days. If you've established that relationship with the parent and you've taken the time to talk about the good things that your child has done, they're not going to jump to the conclusion that you're picking on the child. And it goes a long way. And I always use that as a school-based administrator. You know, 99% of my conversations with parents were positive. I mean, when you talk about expulsion, it's pretty hard to have a positive conversation, but at least there was some understanding. And the last one was coordinated processes. In other words, we need to be on the same page. You can't have a teacher in one class doing something that's different than a teacher in another class. Something as simple as, can you wear a hat or can't you wear a hat? And that's a simple analogy, but really, why should we have that differentiation? Either you can wear a hat or you can't wear a hat. Why should it change or differ from class to class? Another pet peeve of mine is some teachers used to allow kids to chew gum. Other teachers didn't allow kids to chew gum. I mean, we need to be consistent in our schools and work hard as well. And do you want me to just keep going, or would you like to ask questions at the end of each goal, or?
So I would just like to comment on how valuable I think this is, that you're linking this all to, well, we've done the professional practice goal so far, but this is really, the fact that all of this is linked to a goal really helps me understand what's important to you. Out of all the gajillion things that are on a superintendent's plate, but I've just been like kind of writing down the themes that seem to come through with all of these different workshops and seminars and webinars, so forth. And it's, you know, you're very focused on multilingual learners and students with disability and equity and DEIB and cultural responsive practices, and, you know, and connecting with students, being proactive rather than reactive. There's certain themes that come through with these things that you've been talking about. So I really like this system of linking it to a goal. I hope that's worked out well for you too.
It has. I actually enjoy it. I like the conciseness, and it's an easy linkage to understand. If I write you a narrative, I'm enjoying it, and I bring things up that I've done all year, but then you have to read it and try to create those links. So I think this is a good change. And, looking forward to moving forward with it next year as well. It's going to be longer, I have to tell you. Can't not add a lot more, because a lot happens during the year. So thank you for those comments. Student learning goal is a 2-year goal as well. Conducting research and writing a research paper with colleagues that focuses on the benefits and challenges of the Character Strong SEL program at the high school. What's really powerful for me here is the title and the job I have carries positional authority, whether you want to know. I mean, I can go in schools, I can wear Littleton swag, I can dress down, but I'm still a superintendent of schools. And with that, it not only carries a lot of responsibility, but all the staff report to me all the time. So my job as a superintendent, my belief anyway, is to break down those barriers as much as I can. They know who the superintendent is. But at the same time, in order for me to be effective, I need to develop relationships with all staff, and they need to feel comfortable with me, as comfortable as they can. So when I look at what happened here, I didn't go out seeking this goal. I had teachers seek me out. And to me, that's really powerful. Teachers that understand that I don't directly evaluate them, but I do have a certain influence on how they grow within the district. So I'm really blessed to have that kind of relationship in the district, and it doesn't happen easily because we deal with a lot of conflict with superintendents. So by the time people sit at my table, unless it's an administrative meeting, it's because they're unhappy, something isn't going right for them. So to be able to continue to establish that rapport, I think is special and really important to me as a leader. So the alignment is there. I don't think I need to read it to you. You can see it's aligned with the DESI superintendent rubric and our strategic plan. And when we started this venture, we met with the clinical team back in June of 23, talked about the need to take a look at developing a research-based SDL program. Formed a group committee, and their task was to look at this information throughout the summer and come up with a recommendation for the superintendent. They made a decision to go with the evidence-based SEL program, Character Strong, which was the first program that I presented to them back in June. Well, I was thrilled with that. The implementation was quick. You know, I thought it was November, December, but they were off and running by the end of September. And when you look at what we've done here, they began implementation in September. We administered the beginning of the year survey, which was pretty positive. There's one area that really needs to provide. We need to provide some more support to, and we're doing that through the lessons that are created to make sure that the satisfaction rate in that area with students increases. And it was emotional regulation. That's the one that stood out. So we've developed the various things you have to do when you do a research paper. We've developed focus group interview questions, etc., for staff and students, and it has to be part of the R&D application process for your research. You have to have all that done before we approve it. I had to complete a CITA research course. Interesting, universities don't use the same research courses. I figured my doctorate degree at Northeastern that I would be able to go to any university and not have to take another research course. That wasn't the case. So it was a good refresher. Development of research questions, which are really important, and they were contained in the IRB, which you can see when you take that link up. Student assent forms also as well. Development of recruitment forms for surveys and focus groups, and all that is accessible to you. And administration of end of the year SEL student assessment is going to happen in May, which is around the corner. And our student and staff focus group surveys are going to happen in May and June. I'm going to bow out of the staff focus groups to just make sure that there's no unintended bias by anybody who reads the research paper. And then we've already started to accumulate journals of literature that take a look at evidence-based, research-based SEL programs. There's not that much out there, I'll be honest with you. When kids get to high school, for years and years, it was interesting to me because all of a sudden they're fixed or they don't have these issues anymore that they had in grade 8. And that's not true, as we know. And they do mature from grade 8 to grade 9. There's no doubt there, but it doesn't mean that some of the struggles that they have in middle school aren't going to come down through high school. Our counselors, Elaine, as you mentioned before, for years and years, they were just academic counselors. And now we have adjustment counselors, we have a psychologist, and it's made a world of difference in our bridge program as well. That brings me to the end of the second compulsory goal in the evaluation process. Any questions?
Very thorough.
Can you just tell us what your research question is?
I'm gonna have to pull it up.
Is it one of those super long ones, or is it?
Yeah.
Maybe you can just
Read.
tell me the gist of it. That's one of those ones that's
Well,
super
I
long.
guess to summarize it without using the rhetoric, what we're looking for is, does a structured character education program instill the skills that students need to develop, appropriate social and emotional skills to be successful in life? And, by investing this time, by training all the staff, is that really going to make a difference in the end? And if the answer is a yes, then we're spinning our wheels and we need to do something. I think that's it. We believe, as a group of researchers, that this is making a difference. But until you actually do the research, there's no guarantees. So that's really what we're looking for.
I think it's such a great choice for a student learning goal because it's actually measurable. Like that's the measurable part that's always so hard. But this one has the measurement built right into it. So
Thank you.
yeah, good luck as you continue on.
Yeah,
That's
excited
very
about it.
exciting.
Okay, goal 3, by leadership and oversight, for the continued implementation of our new math resource into math. You can see where the linkage is in column 2. I'm going to speed up a little bit for you. If I'm going too fast, slow me down, please. Interesting assessments I included in my links for you. If you look at the growth during the first year of implementation of the program in 22-23, it was significant in terms of number of students that were above grade level. And if you look at our mid-year assessment in 2023 and 2024, you compare it to last year's data, the mid-year is pretty close to what the end of the year was in the previous year. So our kids are learning math skills at a rapid pace. So I'm really proud of that. It's an affirmation that we chose the right resource. And I don't want you to think it's easy implementing the K-5 curriculum with teachers that have accumulated rooms full of materials over the years. And we've asked them to lock them up and not use them because we need fidelity in the implementation of this program. And as we can finish the implementation, year 3 next year won't be finished, but we'll be closer. We will start taking a look at where the voids are in this new resource, because every curriculum resource has voids. And in order to address them, we need to bring in other resources, but we don't want 15 other resources to address them. We want to be consistent in how we address those holes that we see with the resource they're using. Again, attended the Into Math workshops with staff. They were facilitated by Lesley University. This one is quite interesting. It's nice for me to go into classrooms and not just do a walkthrough, but go into a classroom with a purpose. And there is a purpose for going into the classroom, but this is a real purpose that is specific. So I've been going into classrooms for a full class period. We use the same template, so the principal uses the observation template, and so does Beth, and so do I. Same one, consistency is there. And we take a look at the progress implementing to math into our classrooms. I'm happy to report so far, I'm really impressed with what I see. Transitions into various activities in a 70-minute period are seamless, even in kindergarten. And it's not an easy gig in kindergarten to have 4 or 5 transitions during a class. So very proud of what our teachers are doing. And I intend to have Beth and I meet with the facilitator math coach to see what our next steps are for next year. And in my travels more correctly, I have an opportunity to talk with teachers about how their implementation process is going. It's so important to hear their voice. It's so important to know that they are comfortable to say what they want. I don't expect them to say, "Oh, it's going great." They do, but then I say, and what else? And they usually have something that they're struggling with, which is important for me to hear as a superintendent. So the end, we have the end of the year Into Math assessment that I'll be looking forward to reviewing, and excited to see how many students are above grade level at that time, because plenty of our students are already above grade level on our mid-year assessment. Go 4. I just think I'll just finish it, and then you can ask me questions.
Okay.
Provide leadership, support, and guidance throughout phase 2 of the Schcmte building project, feasibility design study. Everything's there. You have access to the whole file. This is a lot of work, folks. Like it's a lot of heavy lifting, and it's about to get a lot heavier. We were able to decide with MSBA on Tuesday who our design architect will be, and now we have to negotiate a contract with them, and then the expectations are going to pick up rapidly because we're going to have to hold community meetings. The architects are going to have to decide whether it's a renovation or a new build, and we're very clear in our expectations that this is a community project, not just a school department project. So this company, we're excited about having on board. There was a good feel. And maybe you could add to that as well, if you would like at this time, or do you want to wait?
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think they made us really excited for the project. So they had a lot of great positive energy, and I think they'll be really great in kind of spearheading the community involvement in the whole project. So I'm pretty confident that they're gonna help guide us to be able to get everybody's needs met and help us kind of make those decisions.
And we had a tie vote first round between the 2 companies. And took a while to break the tie, but
Yeah, we had to advocate for that one.
oh man, if we ever, and the application passed off, or paid off, passed off, paid off. Getting late at night. So we're thrilled that we ended up getting the architect that we wanted, because there's no guarantee. There were 11 of them and 3 of us. So we were outnumbered, but we were victorious. Goal 5, provide leadership, support, and oversight for implementing our updated district strategic plan. I've provided you with all of the presentations that we did this year with the links, quite a bit of information that we give you as a school committee. It's imperative that we do that so that you are connected to what's happening in our school district. And hopefully, not only you are connected, but we're connected to some of our public that comes in to our meetings or maybe watches our meetings at some later date. So the essential part of what I need to do as a superintendent is keep you informed about the initiatives that we're implementing in the district. And I'm just going to go right through that one. You can ask me questions at the end if you like. Sure. Goal 6, negotiate successor contracts for educational support professionals and administrative assistants association. This has been tough times for negotiations, and the committees in the past have always given me permission to negotiate these 2 contracts, and hopefully it saves you a lot of time, because they do take time. And this one, out of all the years that I've been here, was probably the toughest, because they're coming in with demands as a result of inflation, wanting increases at times that are not sustainable. But what I like about how we handle negotiations in our district is we put each other in each other's shoes, and sometimes it's hard, it's emotional, but we want to do what we can to support our staff, but we don't want to end up in a position where we have to terminate staff because we can't afford to keep them all, because it's counterproductive. And that's what happens. And you're seeing that happening around our state now, where the negotiations were rough. That's the word I can think of. And as a result of the settlements, they're laying personnel right now. It's getting pretty ugly out there in some communities. We were spared of that because we were methodical, and we came in with an approach where we really care about you, but we're not going to do anything to jeopardize our welfare as a district. We're not going to jeopardize our students. So I'm happy to report, for the first time in many, many years, we have all 3 contracts settled for 3 years. So there should be no more negotiation. Period. Good job. Thank goodness. That brings me to the end of my presentation of the goals, and I'm certainly here to answer any questions that you may have.
I just echo Elaine's comments earlier. I like the organization of it. I know when you on your drive to work, you probably have the things that you need to do today, and then you walk in and you get blindsided by emails and phone calls, and it takes you away from what you were hoping to accomplish. Having a document like this and a 2 or 3 year plan with charting your progress is been impactful for the district, because so many times I think a leader within an organization can become really the operations manager, and what we really need to be is the strategic thinker, and then have operational people underneath you. And I think you do a great job of that. So
That's so important.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying.
Yeah, I like these updates with every meeting, that what's happening with different aspects of the strategic plan, because it's I think it's kind of a unique approach. I haven't seen it in other districts. It's often with school committees, they're just, their meetings are caught up with dealing with crises and problems of the moment. But this helps us take a broader view in a very organized way, so that it's not just one area that gets all of the attention. And the other thing I wanted to call out, I'm just so impressed that you're so involved with the rollout of the new math program, because I think just the optics of that for teachers, to see the superintendent do a walkthrough and be well informed of the math curriculum. I think it helps them understand how invested you are in their success. And again, I think that's unusual.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I am a curriculum person as well, and I'm lucky, fortunate. I've taught math in grades 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And how did I ever do that? When I was a principal, I always taught courses. So I understand math. I do have a minor in math. It's really nice to come in and see firsthand how things have changed. since I was a teacher, and they have changed. So, I really appreciate this.
Well, and how great for the teachers to be able to speak to you. And I think that, there's two benefits to that. Like one, that they can talk to you because you're not their evaluator. But at the same time, you have a position of influence. So it's wonderful to give teachers that opportunity to be able to speak their mind honestly, directly to the top.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Part of it is your own experiences. When I was a superintendent in Canada, I was the only one that could offer PTS status, so I had to evaluate third-year teachers. And you have to develop those skill sets to as a CEO of the organization, you're determining their fate. And you have to spend time developing relationships with them. So really felt comfortable. It's comfortable as it could be. So thank you.
Great, nice job.
Thank you. Right on to school choice.
Yep. You want to present from the podium so you can see it? Sure, for you to back of your seat, doesn't matter to me, but presentation 3, recommended school choice slots. Superintendent Kelly Clinch will present the recommended fiscal year 25 school choice seats and request a motion to approve the recommended school choice seats as presented. We've got 20 minutes for this. I think this is typically done in less than 20 minutes, but
It is.
let's
Trying
get
to
to
get
it.
you out of here early.
All right,
Hold on. Table out. See. So the fourth column is the recommended school choice seats in red. So if you take a minute to look at those, try to find my document. Let's have some notes on that one to see. There it is. So you'll notice at Shaker Lane School, we have 5 openings in kindergarten and 4 openings in grade 2, and that's it. And that's because of our class sizes. And we don't want to tip the balance in terms of what an acceptable class size is. Now, I'm sure you already have looked at this because I know how you like to look at numbers and classroom sizes, etc. But we have 11 grade 12s graduating this year. So it's imperative that we keep the flow of school choice students within our district. The numbers that I recommended today doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get them. There's a greater chance of filling seats in elementary school than there is in middle school or high school. Sometimes we get surprised. We had more enrollments in high school this year than we've seen in a long time. So, my intent here is to stabilize our grades as much as possible without having class sizes that are not what we believe in terms of optimal class sizes. And also, provide opportunities for our students with the program that we currently have and continue that program. And if we don't have school choice, it puts a greater strain on our ability to offer some of the program that we have in the district. Without school choice, our district would look very different and not for the better. I'll be honest with you. It has allowed us to expand staffing and programs in the high school. It's allowed us to bring in more specialty staff in all of the schools, clinical staff, for example. So the money has been used wisely, and it's made a tremendous difference in our district. So, and it really has helped us through these tough budget times. So when you go down there, grades 3, 4, and 5, grade 4.
Can I just ask a Shaker Lane question?
Sure.
If that's all right, just take one school at a
Of
time.
course. Of course.
Do you have any idea how many kindergarten students are expected to move to transitional for next year? Because that's that impacts how large that class is going to be.
Yeah, I don't have an exact number. I've had conversations with Michelle. Michelle and I have had many conversations about transition. There may be 14, but my wish and desire is that we take a real close look at transition and determine whether or not it's meeting the needs that it was 10 years ago. The diversity in students, academic, social, emotional diversity in students that we're getting into our schools now, like every district, certainly has a wider spread. And when we look at transition, there was a time, there's still maybe a time, but we need to evaluate that classroom provided the support for social and emotional development for a group of students. They were cognitively fine. But The social and emotional needs at Shaker Lane at that grade level has changed significantly. And Michelle and I are both questioning whether or not that program will continue to meet the needs in terms of what it was intended to do. So we're gonna do a deep dive into it next year.
Well, that was kind of my.
Survey parents, et cetera.
That was the reason why I asked the question, was because we're advertising 5 seats for kindergarten, and you know, with that comes school choice revenue, which we know gets spent wisely, but if we don't offer any school choice seats for that program, it probably puts like one less child in every classroom, which makes it slightly more manageable for that teacher, because the feedback that we've been hearing, especially at Shaker Lane, is the kids are showing up to school less prepared than they have in years past. And I think it's all pandemic related, right? Like those that were in daycare weren't in daycare, those that were in preschool weren't in preschool, some of those social skills didn't develop, and now all of a sudden they're in kindergarten. And just like the MCAS 10th grade math problem, I think over time that's gonna weed itself out. I'm hopeful. But I just wanted to raise that among the school committees, like we could strategically go without those 5 seats. And I mean, I don't know, I don't personally have an opinion on, do we forego the opportunity for the revenue and have one less child, you know, load per classroom?
Well, let me help you out here, because there's a context that's missing, and you would know the context. We have ed assistants in all of those classrooms. We're not required to have an ed assistant until we reach 25 students. So we've had a firm belief that those ed assistants are valuable, irregardless of class size.
That's in kindergarten, just kindergarten,
Okay.
not one.
No, not in 1 or 2. No, we can't.
And transitional, do they have
They
an
don't.
aid?
They
No?
don't, but that's something that we're taking a look at, because the student population in transition is changing. But you also need to know that we opened up a therapeutic program in Europe for those students, therapeutic program
Therapeutic.
for those students. So we're offering more services than we ever have in kindergarten. We have a full-time sped teacher down there now. So she was 0.7%, 7%. So we've added the resources to be successful. My concern, and Michelle and I are working on this, to try to set the scene where if for some reason we decided transition wasn't meeting the needs anymore, we could move that transition teacher into kindergarten rather than grade 1. But if you look at the enrollment summary for our next year, grade 12, so we have 19 school choice kids that are graduating. We're not going to replenish very many of those. So
No, I know.
we're trying to balance everything, make sure that we're not going to lose too much revenue. And I'm not saying we are, I want to make it clear tonight that we're going to evaluate the transition program for its effectiveness. And who knows, we may come up with another program that will still require a contained classroom, but we're not sure yet. And that's going to take time and thoughtful conversations. et
Well,
cetera.
I'm glad you're looking at that, because I think back in the day when transition first, I mean, it goes way back. Two of my sons were recommended for, so I'm a little case study, like one went and one didn't, even though they were both recommended, so I could see, the long-term outcomes of that decision. But I think there's so much more focus now on social emotional learning, which is a big focus of the transitional program. And if all students now are being supported in that way, I don't know if it's necessarily important to target certain students that need more social emotional support if systems are in place to support all students, because it really in some ways is like a retention
It is.
academically.
Right.
So it has academic impact. So it's very complicated and it's highly charged.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, we're having the same conversations, and there's another academic portion. I mean, it's worked in our community for years. I don't want to say it hasn't been a good program, but it has. But our demographics are changing. But we are putting students together that have SEL needs, but they're academically on grade level.
Mhm.
So at the end of the year, they're missing some of that academic stimulation. And what effect does that have on some of our students as they become older? And because they are academically ready. And the whole philosophy of transition is we're going to beef up the academics as well, but they still go into grade 1. So there is a bit of a lag along the way. And as we implement UDL more into our classrooms, that should have an added benefit in terms of not having to do that if we're fully implementing. Yeah, so
I think it's a different world now from
it
when,
is.
and I know other districts are reevaluating their programs, you know, some districts call it pre-first. But, you know, it's a conversation that's going on
Sure.
in multiple districts, so I'm glad we're having the conversation at least, but I wanted to ask you too, is there like a certain formula that you use, like a target class size? And if you have a certain grade level that has a smaller
Yeah.
class size, that's how you determine the number of
Right.
spots that you get?
Well, yeah, it all depends on, I look at class sizes for each grade. And in K-2, I like to keep class sizes under 22 if possible.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can't because we have more students who are moving in the community in those particular grades. But there is no ideal class size, but being in education as long as I have, you have a good feel for what works and what doesn't work. And you have to look at the dynamics of grade as well. All grades aren't the same, as we all know. So all of those things are taken into consideration. And then in grades 3 to 5, I'd like to stay under 24, 25.
Mhm.
And then middle school, 25 to 20. I like the 25. It seems to be a nice number. High school, there's so many choices for kids that, it gives us an opportunity to fill the void. In our high school, some of you know this, I'm going to say it again, well, not two repetitions. But one of the tricks we have in our district is we start out with an enrollment of students in K to 5. They go to grade 6, and there's an opportunity for a student in grade 6 to go to Parker Charter. We lose 8 to 10, 12 kids. It depends on the year. So there's a draw off number of kids we have in that grade. Then when they hit grade 8, there's a second draw because some kids will choose to go to Schcmte. So we could go down 16 kids. And as a result of that, some of their grades that have gone through our high school have been, I have a 103 here, 103 students. And you need sufficient students to offer the programming that all students need to be successful. So it's a challenge for me as a superintendent to make sure that whatever I do along the way isn't going to result in us having to downsize at the high school as well. So it's not an easy linear process. And I mean, 103 in a class, that's a pretty small class from the number of classes or subjects that we are in high school. So those two draws don't help. I think, don't get me wrong, I think choice is good. I've always been a supporter of choice, but in this case, it puts a greater strain on us for our high school to remain as robust as it is in terms of course offerings.
The 4th grade class where we only have 108 residents, currently 2 school choice, and you're recommending 5. Is 5 the placeholder for the cap? It looks like we could offer more. To your point earlier, I don't know if we would get them, but
I'm glad you asked.
we could advertise 10 to try to bring that
But I
number
don't,
up.
yeah, I'm cautious because we have pockets of students moving in our district. And I could have 6 more students moving to our community. So I want to be cautious. There's always room to up the numbers as they progress through our schools. So being cautious at the beginning pays off because we've had a couple of years. Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't remember exactly what grade it was in. It was Russell Street. We had 8 students move in August into that one grade. And so you have to understand that there are variables you can't control. You want to make sure that you don't push it too far because you can't subtract in those situations. When you're in for school choice, you're in until you graduate.
No, I get that.
A Shaker Lane class had 16 movements last minute at the end of summer, which makes it 16 is a lot.
Yeah.
But I like the way you're using school choice to even out the size of the classes so that there's not like a giant bump class that's just, going through the grade levels and this really helps.
It does.
Smooth it
Nothing nothing worse than having been an elementary principal. Going to your staff and encouraging them and saying, oh, we have a small grade here, so I'm gonna move you from grade 2 to 3, for a year. And then I'm gonna put you back in grade 2. I mean, I have a firm belief that having that knowledge base is beneficial, but it's not as beneficial as having the teacher develop those skill sets for a particular grade level over a period of time. So
I'm sure the teachers are grateful that you have that mindset.
I think
Can I just ask, I think we asked this last year too, it'd be helpful to see how many kids are in each class. Because we don't know
well, I
specifically how
I
many.
can just tell you how many classes we got. That should be
Okay.
pretty easy calculation. So.
Yeah.
So K to 2, we have 6 classes in each grade. 3 to 5, we have 6 classes in each grade. 5 to 8, we have 5 classes in each grade. And 9 to 12, your guess is as good as mine because they share courses with students in different grades. So it's just a whole different thing in high school. And our class size, I mean, John and Keith do an incredible job of scheduling the high school classes, but even people that are the best at scheduling in any high school are going to have pockets where you have 6 kids in a class and 20 in another class. Because there are so many things that kids can choose from in high school.
Yeah, I don't have any, those were just my ideas. I don't have any, you're the expert. You've got the strategic plan behind this, so I'm fine with it as presented. I think I would be interested to learn in what years we pick these school choice kids up, students, use that term. Like in the high school class, the senior class that's graduating 16 next year. I'd be curious, when those students came in, did they come in the elementary school? Did we get them in the middle school?
Well, we would never take in 19 students in kindergarten, so it's been.
No, yeah, I was just curious if it
It's
was
been
like,
progressive.
is it at the beginning of each school as they move from school to school? That's oftentimes when folks would make a transition. I would also be curious if we were looking for, or if we had 5 seats open last year for 3rd grade, for example, how many of them did we fill? I mean, I guess I could go back and look at the
Well, we do have that
last year, but
I have
We
it,
do.
but it's still all projected. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's who
Right.
actually.
I mean, just for next year, it might be helpful when we look at this. I would just be,
Yeah.
I like the math and the data behind all this stuff.
Yeah, and with the understanding that our enrollments change every few weeks. I mean, we do have some transiency in our district, not a lot.
Yeah.
We have people moving out and moving in all the time, and sometimes I'll look at enrollment from month to month, and I'll have 5 kids, five fewer students in a grade. So, but we do have that information if that's something you'd like.
I would just be curious. Does anyone have any other questions or comments as it relates to school choice seats?
What's that?
Questions or comments as it relates to school choice seats? Kelly, you'd like as presented?
Yes, and just so you know, this is something, according to policy and law, my job is just to present this information to you, but this is an important discussion, and I've always, as a superintendent, no matter where I've been, asked for a vote, because this is something we're in together. And, you need to have buy-in to what I'm trying to do. It's important to me that we do vote on these things.
Someone like to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we accept the projected school choice enrollment figures for 2024-25 as presented.
Motion made, fiscal year 25,
I'll second the motion.
seconded by Jen. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, we'll mark that unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Superintendent Clenchey.
Good discussion.
Yeah.
Always a fun one. All right, let's see, we will close this out our presentation portion of the evening. And we'll pause for our second opportunity for interested citizens. If there's anybody with us this evening that would like to speak before the school committee, or anybody at home on
For
Zoom,
old times.
good. You're coming in to volunteer for something.
We always have something for you to
All right,
do.
hearing none, we will close the second portion for interested citizens and we will progress through our subcommittee reports. First up is PMDC. No report. Budget subcommittee also doesn't have a report this week. Policy subcommittee, no reports. That's great. Schcmte Building Committee.
I'm glad we don't have a report.
Yeah.
Schcmte, Kelly had already mentioned, we had our MSBA
Yeah.
meeting on Tuesday to vote for the architects, and as you said, we were able to get was it
Studio G.
Studio G? Yes, Studio G. It's the architect that we're gonna be working with going forward. So as you said, we made negotiating contracts next, and then we like really hit the ground running. Hopefully, I mean, summer things are gonna start moving fast, so we're trying to coordinate, making sure that we're getting teachers' input and administrative input as fast as we can before they all kind of scatter for the summer.
For sure.
So that's what I have.
When does the community input cycle start?
Well, we
I don't know, we have to figure out that calendar, but
have to, first of all, negotiate a contract with the company. But we have a deadline, I believe, if I remember correctly, Steve, July 15th, we have to have an educational plan in the state.
Okay.
So I would anticipate, personally, I would like to see one or two community members or meetings before the end of June.
Okay.
And they will help facilitate those meetings. And they, at the same time, they also have to get in, shake on the school and do a forensic audit of whether or not the school is savable and can accommodate 21st century learning. So all that's going to happen pretty fast. So it's an ambitious timeline. I have to say, Stacy heard me speak about it. I thought, like, really pick the worst time of the year to do this, because most of our staff are gone. And yet we have a July 15th deadline. Would like to see it September 30th, October 15th. We don't get to set those deadlines.
Seems like that's the nature of the process, that there's a lot of waiting and then all of a sudden you have to go fast.
Exactly.
You know.
And then you wait again.
And
Hurry-
wait again.
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
Okay, good there. Any other reports from any other subcommittees? No, any other new business or old business before the committee? No, hearing none. We do have a purpose for executive session this evening, so we can stick around. I will move that we move to executive session for the purposes of contract negotiation for non-union personnel with no intention to return to open session.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. That's a roll call vote. Stacy,
yes.
Blaine.
Aye.
Jen,
Yes.
Justin votes yes as well. We have adjourned from school committee and we will reconvene in executive session once we clear the room. Thank you.